We are back with more wrestling news, as this is when we talk about Jay White and Jeff Hardy. But first, we got other news to get to, and that is frustration at the Ring of Honor tapings, as Ring of Honor taped on Friday. Was it? Yeah, it was Friday and Saturday. Saturday and Sunday. Sorry, they taped on Saturday, February 26th. Saturday, February 25th, and Sunday, February 26th, this past weekend, to set up the television for the return to the return to TV for Ring of Honor, as Ring of Honor is officially on the Honor Club once again, with weekly television back for Ring of Honor. And there was frustration within the TV tapings because a number of talent that was asked to be a part of the TV taping or was backstage was not actually used. So there was a number of wrestlers that had to cancel independent bookings and were not able to appear at independent wrestling shows that they had originally intended on appearing for, because they had to keep their booking open in case they were going to be used for Ring of Honor. I completely understand the logic of, you want to keep it open like a backup plan or, a secondary plan just in case. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, I guess you could say the fact of the matter is, unless something happened or unless something changed, but there was, from what I understand, at least 4 to 5 people that were there that weren't, like, I think one independent promoter was happy but also disappointed because he knew that his top stars were getting national exposure. But the fact of the matter is, he lost 3 of his top stars from his show, and it hurt his show. So it's like, I understand the logic, but I also understand why you'd be mad. And it's like, I guess what I'm saying is, it's like, shouldn't Tony Khan have had at least an idea of what he wanted to do for the TV tapings? Because if they're promoting for Supercard of Honor in March, then shouldn't you know from that standpoint, okay, you want to build up these 3 matches, like you should know what the world title match is going to be, what the tag team, what you're going to do with tag team titles, the trios titles, the world title, the television title, etc. You should at least have an idea of what you're going to do with those titles. And, if not to say that Zack Sabre Jr. was not a welcome addition to the Ring of Honor tapings, but if you had people from independent shows that you made them, get rid of their booking and keep themselves available to possibly work your show, but you have people from New Japan coming in to work the show, that kind of defeats the purpose of telling them to be available, because if you didn't have the guy come in from New Japan, then you may have used the guy that you told to keep themselves available for the potential to be used. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not saying that Zack Sabre Jr. was not a welcome addition to the show. It's that, was he needed? Because if you already had people waiting in the wings that you could have used, why didn't you use them instead of Zack Sabre Jr.? You know what I mean? I know Zack Sabre Jr. gets the attention of the internet audience, but to say that Zack Sabre Jr. would have been better than some independent wrestler, the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't realize, just because you know who he is doesn't mean everyone knows who he is. Not everyone pays attention to everything wrestling. And I'm not saying that, the mainstream media, the mainstream fans are paying attention to Ring of Honor, because odds are they're not. But the fact of the matter is, Zack Sabre Jr. is not going to sell any more tickets than Wheeler Yuta is, because on the mainstream spectrum, the amount of people that know who Wheeler Yuta is, it's probably the same amount of people that know who Zack Sabre Jr. is. Simple as that. And you might say I'm wrong, but I doubt it because not everyone knows who the hottest guy in New Japan is just because it's professional wrestling. Most people don't pay attention to everything professional wrestling. They pay attention to AEW and that's it. They pay attention to WWE and that's it. They pay attention to the mainstream wrestling and that's it. Because that's all they have time for, that's all they have an interest in, or that's all they want to hear about. I'm not saying that everyone is that way, but I'm also not saying that everyone pays attention to everything just because it's professional wrestling. Because that has never been the case. So I'm just saying that if I was Tony Khan, maybe I would have had a better plan of what I wanted to accomplish between now and Supercard of Honor. Whenever Supercard of Honor is taking place, I don't remember if it's taking place in March or April. If it's taking place in March, I would think that they should have a plan in place and that the television taping should have reflected that. That's all I gotta say. But now we get to the first bit of big news as Jay White is officially a free agent as his contract with New Japan officially expired, though there are going to be rumors, probably until after WrestleMania, of what Jay White will be doing and where Jay White will be going next, as there are fans that even believe that Jay White could end up in Impact Wrestling, as Jay spent some time in Impact Wrestling, I believe it was last year, as Impact and New Japan have their talent exchange, and the Bullet Club have a presence in New Japan. Hell, Jay White did stuff with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows before the Good Brothers made the move back to WWE. But Jay White is officially a free agent, and if I had to guess, Jay White is somebody that would not appear until after WrestleMania, if he did go to WWE or after Revolution. I mean, there could be an argument to be made that Jay White could appear at Revolution. There is an argument to be made that Jay White could appear at Revolution. But the fact of the matter is, even if he appeared at Revolution, what would that accomplish? Because, again, as I mentioned with Zack Sabre Jr., you might think everyone knows that. You might think everybody knows Jay White. You may think that the mainstream wrestling fan knows who Jay White is, but Jay White is not going to get a crazy. Yes, he would get a bigger reaction in AEW than he would in WWE. He would. But right now, if Jay White appeared in AEW, would he challenge MJF for the world title? And if he did, would he win? The answer is no. The answer is no. Because the right decision right now for AEW is, unless you changed your mind about MJF, which I don't know why you would have, but unless you changed your mind about MJF, MJF should be the long-standing champion. Meaning he should hold the title for most of 2023. If you changed your mind and you don't want him to hold the title for that long, then Bryan Danielson would be the perfect person to replace him. Simple as that. Right now, in the position that they're in, AEW does not need Jay White at the top of the card. Does WWE? Well, with the fact that WWE may have the plan at some point, not long after WrestleMania, to break up the WWE, to break up the world titles again, and not just have an undisputed champion, I think the answer to that question is yes. WWE does need Jay White a little bit more, but I also think I'm going to stick with what I said in a previous news video, where I said that WWE would benefit from doing vignettes to promote the arrival of Jay White, or doing something with Gallows and Anderson and AJ Styles, and having Jay White's first rivalry be with the Phenomenal One following WrestleMania, where maybe Carl and Gallows, Anderson and Gallows turn on AJ and set that up where they were awaiting the arrival of the former, one of the many former leaders of Bullet Club. But now we shift over to a little bit of WrestleMania news, as twists and turns are planned for the ever evolving women's tag team title match at WrestleMania, with Lita and Becky Lynch as the current champions. There is a possibility that Lita and Becky Lynch will not be the current champions when we head to Hollywood for WrestleMania, and it could be that Damage Control can win the belts back, or whatever the case, whatever the case is. We still got a month before WrestleMania, or a few weeks before WrestleMania, so it is no guarantee what's gonna happen. There's even rumors of a possible Trish heel turn. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do WrestleMania stuff separately, but the fact of the matter is, the next one is easy. There are backup plans for Brock Lesnar versus Omos, and also Vince McMahon is not involved in creative, even though this might have been one of Vince's ideas. Brock okayed it, so that puts aside Vince McMahon being included in any way, shape, or form in this situation. Also, the last bit of news is Jeff Hardy. There are no plans for Jeff Hardy's return to AEW, according to his brother Matt, and also that, like, as Matt said, just because Jeff's court case is over doesn't mean he returns. He would love to see his brother back, but he would love to see his brother back if he can change his in-ring style and not rely on what his brother relied on, because he doesn't want his brother doing the super high-flying shit anymore. And maybe, a character change, like he did with Brother Nero. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that stuff. And also, before I go, MLW Reels, the MLW TV deal with Reels may be coming to a close very soon, as Reels is set to start premiering on Peacock in April, and there is now a report that the television deal with MLW and Reels was said to only be for 10 weeks and could expire sometime in April, before or as Reels starts on Peacock, because MLW will not be premiering on Peacock due to WWE's exclusivity with Peacock and being the only wrestling promotion that could appear on Peacock. But either way, guys, that is the end of the news cycle today. I will see you in the next video, which is a preview for Rampage tonight.